been taken. It's absolutely amazing. Genesis getting in on the inside with the fast punches and... what a left hook from Genesis, and Galaxy's in a black hole at the moment. Oh, that's a straight driving jab in Kiss's mouth and Kisses out. Absolutely great body shots from Genesis. Oh my word, choice is no choice. The corner's thrown in the tower. What a disaster. Punishing headshots from Genesis. Oh, Skyline needs a helpline. What a beating. Oh, the power of that Genesis jab. Irie FM doesn't feel so Irie now. They're out. Thumping right hook, and Lightning's blown a fuse. They've been taken. Five's doing the alley shuffle. Five's in all sorts of problems now. That's knocked the vibe out of them. And Radio 1's gone. Radio 2's out. Radio 3's hurt. Radio 4's been bored up. Genesis stalking like a civilized savage. And Capital Radio's running from London. I gotta say, what an extraordinary opponent. Road Girls FM is stumbling about in a daze. Genesis has such a mean look on his face. Great one to Roxette is rocking violently from that jab. Call the doctor. It's all over.
Genesis Radio, the undisputed #1 champ. So much energy, I just don't know when to stop. We're there. We're a pop-off. We're a pop-off. We're the champs.
Genesis, I'm out of start for the show. 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 Right about now, this is half pint. Right about now, this is half pint. Genesis, I'm out of start for the show. Right about now, this is half pint. Genesis is the #1 champion station in our land. So catch it every morning, 9 to 9. Genesis, I'm out of start for the show.
Good morning, one and all, and welcome along to the Genesis 91.6 People's Talk Show is in the house. And boy, 0795 777 5477. First got to say, first things first, going out to the Owen Art, the old mad one every Sunday morning, come in and just mad it up. Some nice music still, you know what I mean? Brings back some memories to those that's old enough. And I heard this morning, man like Andy T, you're too young. You wasn't born them time. Okay, but let's move on. Big shout going out to all of the presenters, all of the DJs, all of the music players, all of the talkers, all of the rappers that's been doing their thing over the last week here on the Big G1. Enough respect going out to all of our supporters, to all of the helpers. Got to send a special shout out to the 7 Words crew. One love to everybody. And it has been a hectic week, London. Very, very hectic. I think it's for enough of us. Seeing things is just running. Anyway, it's People's Talk Show, and it seems as usual the phone isn't working. You know what? If it ain't, Owen's going to stay here and play some music, mate. I've gone. Because this is just how long now? How many weeks now, Owen? About 4 weeks, mate. And phone still ain't up. What really are going on? Anyway, let's get a check. Let's see what's running. You will know the number by now, and if you don't, 0795 777 5477. In a week when we've had this report as land slap blam on the head of the police's desk, and it seems to be condemning them in a whole heap of ways, including him. In a week when we've had, I remember this teacher that was attacked in Lewisham. She's come out public and started talking now and crying that she's not getting no help and no support. In a time, remember when that happened originally? Didn't we contact her? Didn't we say to her, listen, we're here, you know, if you want the support and the help and rear. But, again, classic case of someone milking the cow before it's even born, and just trying to make money off the back of black people. And I know you all might say, oh, that's out of order because the woman was attacked. She was attacked, but she didn't come to us. We would have helped her. And a year later, it's spread all over the paper. It's in the, you know, on the news there, and Mr. Lawrence and rear. Listen, don't use black people for sympathy. And this goes out to black people, to African people and other African people. It is a crime. It's a terrible thing. You know, if you get attacked, if you get hurt, or whatever the case may be. That's the times that we live in. One love, Owen. That's the times that we live in. But come on. Don't take the Michael. Don't take the P. Don't milk the cow like that and do it in front of our face and be thinking, oh, that you're, or trying to show us that you're doing it for the benefit of the entire race. Don't do that. Because when the race was calling you and wanted to support you, you didn't want to know. You didn't return no phone calls, nothing. So how comes all of a sudden, huh? Anyway, that's enough said about that. But just a, you know, a word of caution going out to everybody out there. It is unfortunate if we find ourselves in these situations. But don't play your own people, man. Don't play your own people. Give us a call on the 0795 777 5477. And boy, you will please don't phone me a cuss, because I honestly believe that this phone line would be up and working. So it's been some considerable time that it hasn't been working. And I would have thought that it would have been done for this Sunday. Not the case. Or maybe I just got it wrong. You know, maybe Owen and I just rigged it up wrong. And there's a mistake we're making. So if there's anyone out there with any knowledge of that, give us a call in the studio, please, and let us know. Don't forget, we've got our Black Scientists and Inventors calendar. Where are we now? February, coming up to March. BIS Publications. And if you haven't seen it yet, if you haven't got a copy yet, then, you know, place an order, contact one of the outlets, and you can place an order for your Black Scientists and Inventors calendars. Again, if you're in the habit of going on exhibitions, or you have a stall, or, you know, you're going around and you'd like to take some of them with you, give us a call and we should be able to put you in touch with somebody. I'll catch you all in a minute. This may be one of our engineers. Okay, I got a call there. The caller said, boy, Commissioner, I'm phoning through, you know, and the phone's just saying dead. One love, brother inventor, going out to you out there in the London region. And boy, I don't know what to say, London. I just don't know what to say. See? Maybe we'll have an engineer or someone will come in, and yet week 4 or 5 again, we'll try. I can imagine now you all are getting pretty fed up of this, eh? Every week is the same thing. People's talk show can't go on because people can't talk. It is rather unfortunate. Let me give you a few phone numbers. You've got the meningitis helpline on the 0845 6800. You have the missing persons helpline on the 0500 700 700. You have the drugs helpline on 0800 77 6600. A few phone lines for you there if you need help, advice, or information. See? Now, Don't forget, next week, Saturday, that's it. Yes, the community dinner. We're having a community get-together. We're going to have a young people's home with us and the elderly people's home with us. And it shall be at the Sojourner Truth Community Center, which is 168 Sumner Road, Southeast 15, 6JL. This is Saturday, the 27th of February. We're also going to have a guest down there. Okay, we had another caller there, and the caller said, boy, Commissioner, Sister B said, no, he's saying that he's dead. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Anyway, let's not deter. Let's not just, give up on that still. Senator, if you're out there and you're listening, well, you can have an early show today, Listen to this, London. 4 white cops have sparked an outrage in New York's Bronx by shooting an unarmed African immigrant 41 times. Amadou Diallo, 22, was gunned down because police believed he was searching for a gun when they challenged him in their search for a serial rapist. In fact, the street vendor from Guinea only had a wallet and beeper in his pockets. As a protest rally, a furious Rev. Al Sharpton warned city officials to call for a federal investigation. The shooting drew fresh criticism on New York's zero-tolerance policing, which has so impressed some new labor gurus. 41 times shot. So, there's one thing, when you look through the black press, it always reminds you of what the world thinks of you. It always reminds you, you can always get a reminder of where your place is in society. Okay? And in New York, an African brother, 22 years old, was shot 41 times. Are you listening? 41 times. Is it because I'm black? That's what some would say. Anyway, pity we can't even get you all to respond to that information there. See? Engineers, come on, someone, give us a bell or come in here and, boy, we're having a dinner next Saturday at the Sojourner Truth Center, as I said to you all before the phone rang, 161 Sumner Road, Southeast 15, 6JL. That's the 27th, and it shall be from 5 p.m. Now, all of the organizers, can you all be there from, say, 3:30, please? So that, things can get sorted and re. Now, Sunday, today, we're having a meeting at 4 o'clock, and today will be strictly to, just sort out the finer qualities of next Saturday's meal. We shall be having a guest with us there. Remember this Professor Sali? He was in yesterday, he was in last week. He's been on a few other stations. He's met government officials whilst he's been here, and he shall be one of the guests at the dinner next Saturday. Hopefully we shall have another guest as well, so we can kind of tie up things neatly and just move ahead. So that's next Saturday at the Sojourner Truth Community Center. And I've been told to make it abundantly clear that this is a strictly African affair. See? So you'll understand that and just live good, and let's come together and do what we're going to do. Now, there's also some things going on in Nigeria. Nigeria's been in the news a lot nowadays, isn't it? Things are changing up. They're calling it globalization of the world. Everyone's coming together. I remember one time a brother phoned and said, boy, anyone that you see hugging up with the World Health and the World Bank and them, they've been bought out. They've been bought out already. Hmm? Well, it seems that Nigeria have, in one arm been very democratic, in another arm they've elected, or one of the so-called elected leaders is an ex-military leader, and it's beginning to turn a few heads. People are beginning to worry. I don't know why. Not that it's any of their concern, but that's happening. I'm just, you know what? For everyone that wanted to phone in, man, I can hear you all calling, I ain't even going to call your names. I can hear it. And I just, personally, I'll tell you the truth, I feel to walk out of this studio right now and just leave a tape or something running, because you can't be doing this every week to the people, man. Every week. For how long now? No live link. So people are going to start asking questions, People are going to start wondering. And then they're going to start drifting. Then they're going to start moving. So whose ever responsibility it is, I deal with the program. Remember last week I gave you some information on the microwave food. I had some more requests for that. People could not believe it, still not believe it, still don't believe it, and would like to hear it again. Well, Hans Hertel was the first scientist to conceive of and carry out a qualitative study on the effects of microwave nutrients on the blood and physiology of human beings. This small but well-controlled study pointed the firm finger at the degenerative force of microwave ovens and the food produced in them. At this point we stop and tell all of our sisters that is about to place the Sunday roast or the veggies or whatever into the microwave for today's dinner. You want to take a listen to this, Stop just for a moment and listen. Working with Bernard H. Blanche of the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology and the University Institute for Biochemistry, Hertel was one of 8 participants in the study. The conclusion was clear. Microwave cooking changed the nutrients so that changes took place in the participants' blood. These were not healthy changes, but were changes that could cause deterioration in the human systems. In 1991, Hans Ulrich Hertel, and a Louisiana University professor, published a research paper indicating that food cooked in microwave ovens could pose a greater risk to health than food cooked by conventional means. Significant changes were discovered in the blood of the volunteers who consumed foods cooked in the microwave oven. These changes included a decrease in all hemoglobin values and cholesterol values, especially the HDL, good cholesterol, and LDL, bad cholesterol, values and ratio. Lymphocytes, which are white blood cells, showed a more distinct short-term decrease of these following the intake of microwave food than after the intake of all the other variants. Each of these indicators point in a direction away from robust health and toward degeneration. Additionally, there was a highly significant association between the amount of microwave energy in the test foods and the luminous power of luminescent bacteria exposed to serum from test persons who ate that food. This led Hertel to the conclusion that such technically derived energies may indeed be passed along to man inductively via consumption of microwaved food. An article appeared in the journal Franz Weber, issue number 19, in which it was stated that the consumption of food cooked in microwave ovens had cancer-type effects on the blood. The article was followed by the research paper itself. On the 7th of August 92, the Swiss Association of Manufacturers and Suppliers of Household Appliances brought an action against the applicants in the Canton of Bern Commercial Court. It produced an expert report by a professor at Zurich Federal Institute of Technology, from which it appeared that the applicant's research was worthless and his findings untenable. As soon as Hertel and Blanche announced their results, the hammer of authority slammed down on them. A powerful trade organization, the Swiss Association of Dealers in Electro Apparatus for Households and Industry, known simply as FEA, struck swiftly. They forced the president of the court of Seftigan, Canton Byrne, to issue a gag order against Hertel and Blanche. The attack was so ferocious that Blanche quickly recanted his support, but it was too late. He had already put into writing his views on the validity of the studies where he concurred with the opinions that microwaved food caused blood abnormalities. That microwaved food caused blood abnormalities. That microwaved food caused blood abnormalities. Clear? Hertel stood his ground, and today is steadfastly demanding his right to a trial. Preliminary hearings on the matter have been appealed to higher courts, and it's quite obvious the powers that be do not want a show trial to erupt on this issue. In March 93, the court handed down this decision based upon a complaint of the FEA. Consideration 1. Request from the plaintiff, FEA, to prohibit the defendant, Dr. Inghans Hertel, from declaring that food prepared in the microwave oven shall be dangerous to health and lead to changes in the blood of consumers, giving reference to pathologic troubles as also indicative for the beginning of a cancerous process. The defendant shall be prohibited from repeating such a statement in publications and in public talks by punishment laid down in the law, death, in connection with microwave ovens. However, in 1998, that decision was reversed in a judgment delivered at Strasbourg on the 27th of August 98. In the case of Hertel versus Switzerland, the European Court of Human Rights held that there had been a violation of Hertel's rights in the 93 decision. Under Article 50 of the Convention, the court awarded the applicant a specified sum for legal costs and expenses. The Court of Human Rights decided that the gag order issued by the Swiss courts against the Bern scientist, prohibiting him from declaring that microwave ovens are dangerous to health, was contrary to the right to freedom of expression. In addition, Switzerland was ordered to pay compensation of francs 40,000. This decision is to put an end to judicial censorship of persons, drawing attention to the health hazards of certain products. Number 1. Did you all know that? For those of you that heard it before and didn't quite catch it, I hope you caught it this time. Microwave. Seems to be a problem, people. Think about it. One thing, next Saturday's dinner, we shall not, repeat, we shall not be using any microwaves. So you all can rest assured about that. I hope that you as I said, took in that piece of information and enjoyed it. If we don't get anyone coming in today to try and sort out our phone lines for us, I'm going to give you much, much more information. I think I'll give you something on essential banking and the control of our money. Remember also I gave you all some facts. We had, amongst others, King Darwin, many others talking about the global meltdown and what's going to happen. Well, last week we gave some facts regarding what countries are going to be affected by what percentage. And again, if people require that information, we'll give it to you yet again. This is what it's about, information, Today is supposed to be the people's talk show. Today is supposed to be the day when the people can come in or phone in and say what they want to say and give us information and let us know how we're sounding, let us know how we're doing, etc., etc., etc. But it's not the case. So, I'm going to play you a little music, and then I'm going to come back on the other side and give you bare information, London. See?
Yeah, man, same way, sir. Oh, yeah, man, black people have to overcome the mishap, Yeah, purge out yourself for the mishap, Yeah, we know it's either last year, I know some black people have to reach from the top. Yo, Rasta man, I tried. This is the new generation. Them ya get a youth, I love the conquering lion. This is the new generation. Man, come for burn down mystery Babylon. This is the black generation, new generation. Man, not yarn them down. This is the new generation. generation. Cut off the flattering lips and all the deceitful tongue. Well, Babylon, me see your judgment come. Can't tell me nothing, them your time, now you're done. 21st century, Goliath better run. And them make the youths, them a so fine at the slum. Babylon, we not gun yam, not a crumbs. When we burn, we fire politician, them dumb. Them can't point no finger, nah, shoot up, not a thumb. All them calculate wrong, and them check this sum. Couldn't manipulate the ghetto, you so did none. Cause of the so they one of them fun would have done. Hey, ghetto you, me say you fi put on a gun. Politician, red on, fire off the bun. This is the new generation. What Emperor Selassie is speaks about. This is the new generation. And them young ghetto youth I love the conquering lion. This is the black generation. Man, I hear them down. This is the new generation. Cut off the flattering lips and all this sinful tongue. Rasta come teach us. Show us the way, can for them would have breach us. Here we go astray. Couldn't come bleach me like no dog, no there. Could not bleach me like unarmed. No for them a sodomite, no for them a girl. No for them bank because them disobey. We the wrong, woman them go lay. Yo, that's why the ghetto youth I tell you there. Revolute play with freedom. Yeah, Emmanuel teach us to be humble and pray. But still them now go walk on me like clay. I know what it's me here, Mama Africa they say. This is the black generation. Them ya ghetto youth I hear the conquering lion. Selassie I generation.
I know big thing. Call the National Drugs Helpline now, in confidence. Just leave. Free phone 0800 77 6600. This is Genesis Radio, working with the community.
No matter where them say Rasta what me commando. Watch out for the bungle and bun the few sizzler. Come and bun down the fandangle crew when me bun the
Nice man, cheaper than the weed. Do you know someone who's taking drugs? Are you taking drugs? We just take it for relax. I know big thing. Call the National Drugs Helpline now, in confidence. Just leave. Free phone 0800 77 6600. This is Genesis Radio, working with the community.
Okay, a bit of information for our sisters. Hormone replacement, a cause of cardiovascular disease. Medical science has always blamed a woman's physiology for many of her physical and mental health problems. The science of gynecology had its beginnings in the mid-Victorian era, when attitudes to women were at their most bizarre. For instance, it was once thought that the intellectual development of a woman reduced her reproductive abilities, which was the justification for barring her from access to higher education. The uterus was blamed for many a Victorian woman's medical condition, such as simple hysterical mania, nymphomania, depression, and even the uncontrollable urge to waltz, which could easily be remedied with a hysterectomy. Oh my gosh. Clitoridectomies, the surgical removal of the clitoris, was also a popular practice by Victorian doctors to prevent impairment of health, headaches, attacks of hysteria, as well as an undisciplined mind. London. Sorry about that. I'm back on the other side now. Now, where were we? Information. Okay, at the same time, I've got to say enough respect, Brother Ron. Brother Ron's just told us, gives us some information. 4 men have been charged, 4 police have been charged in South Africa with the death of Brother Steve Biko. See? All of these years later. How much songs and protests later on. And finally, 4 men have been charged with the murder. And maybe they're just the 4 stooges, the 4 frontmen. But, something is being done. Maybe all a bit too late, but something is seen to be done. They've got a saying, justice must be seen to be done. Let's keep going. Where are we? In the early 1900s, over Romania, a form of insanity was a popular disease of women. It was primarily diagnosed by the presenting symptoms of, get this, unhappiness or hysteria, and was often used to label women who were unwilling to carry out household duties whose husbands found them difficult to control. Where that called, I don't know what. I honestly don't know what you was on about. I don't really want too many calls, but if you got information that you need to get over to us, 0795 777 I ain't in the mood for doing no writing today. I tell you the truth, London. Saying, let's go. Should I start that again? In the early 1900s, over Romania, a form of insanity was a popular disease of women. It was primarily diagnosed by the presenting symptoms of unhappiness or hysteria, and was often used to label women who were unwilling to carry out household duties or whose husbands found them difficult to control. So I think there'll be quite a few women that's very glad that they wasn't born in the 1900s, according to this. The solution was simple: removal of the ovaries. By 1906, 150,000 American women had been subjected to this useless form of female castration. The average age was 30. But the pathologizing of women's natural cycles continued throughout this century until the early 1960s. The menopausal woman was diagnosed as suffering from a psychological condition which necessitated treatment with tranquilizers, antidepressants, and even institutionalization. With the arrival of synthetic hormones, menopause moved into the realm of medicine by being redefined as an estrogen deficiency disease. Estrogen became the drug of choice, recommended to free the menopausal woman from the horror of this living decay that threatened to cause her extreme suffering and incapacity. Okay, I've been put correct. I've been told, make it clear, that we're talking about our sisters, we're talking about our black sisters. Make it clear. Yes, we are. This is what was happening to our sisters. See? Let's make it clear. Where are we now? The horror of this living decay that threatened to cause extreme suffering and incapacity through drug companies, massive advertising campaigns which targeted both medical professionals as well as the public, hormone replacement therapy, HRT, The combination of synthetic estrogen and progestin has triumphed as the primary drug treatment for menopausal women. It is recommended not only for alleviating menopausal symptoms, but also as a preventative treatment for osteoporosis. Okay, hold on. London, listen to this. We're going to be a bit unorthodox, and I've got the phone in my hand, and I'm getting some information now. So you're all going to get it at the same time I get it. The day after we have our dinner, at Sojourner Youth Centre, there's going to be our All-African Male Health Day. Carry on, my brother. Hello, my brother. Yeah, carry on. On the 20th, not the 20th. The 28th of February, there's going to be a rejuvenation day for black men. And okay, on that day, all black brothers are going to be made aware of the chemical castration that's been going on. Okay, we can't go into it too long still, my brother. See? So, my brothers, you're hearing it, and I said to you all, thanks a lot, my brother. Thanks for that. As I said to you all, it's a bit unorthodox today, but you just heard my brother, he's telling me that on the 28th of February, this is the Sunday following the Saturday dinner, there's going to be a seminar, a Black Health Day for African men, see, where we can come and find out some of the attack that's been perpetrated on us and our people, see? Okay, London, you're going to have to bear with us, you know, because it's just, you know what it's like. Genesis is the information station scene. I'm going to get back to the menopausal women scene and what they've been doing to our black sisters. As long as people allow me to, I will try and finish it off. And as I said to you all, don't phone unless you've got information that you need to get out to the community, because it's me one ear and I don't feel like writing. Well, we've got some information. On the 1st of March, at 4:30 in Trent Park, which is Oakwood, the African Caribbean Society and Middlesex University shall be having an open forum discussion called Heaven Sent or Hell on Earth. Okay? Now, it's all of the theologians, anyone that has an idea of how it goes. If you would like to be one of the panel of this open forum down there at the Middlesex University region, please contact this number, 0958-385-411. Did you get that? Minister Rebel, you better listen keenly, because I know this will be right up your street. An open forum of discussion where everyone can sit down and discuss their points in front of the African Caribbean Society and students of Middlesex University. This is on the 1st of March, okay? And they're looking for people to come and present their case. 070958-385-411. That's 0958-385-411. Ask for Sister Y and she'll give you the information. All right? Big up my sis as well for that. And take heed to what you're saying, and we'll see. We'll see. Okay? You all now. Shall we go? Let's go back. Let's go back in it. We don't want to, I have to finish this off because I don't want our sisters to be out there and, worry or get in a panic. So, you know what I mean? You all, especially the men, you just bear with it. Sit down and listen. Hold your queen's hand, you know what I mean? And just go through it with her. Because at the end of the day, it affects us as well. If they're attacking our women, they're attacking us and our children. Okay, where were we? Through drug companies, massive advertising campaigns which targeted both medical professionals as well as the public, hormone replacement therapy, HRT, the combination of synthetic estrogen and progestin, has triumphed as the primary drug treatment for menopausal women. It is recommended not only for alleviating menopausal symptoms, but also as a preventative treatment for osteoporosis. Heart disease has now also been added to HRT's ever-expanding role as a miraculous cure-all. Did you all hear that? So if you've got heart disease as well, they're treating it with HRT. And they're calling it a miraculous cure-all. Unfortunately, hormone replacement therapy is a dangerous and potentially life-threatening drug treatment. To date, there are no long-term studies demonstrating the absolute safety or even rationales for its many uses. Like the other past treatments, it leaves in its wake many physically and psychologically maimed women. Someone bring me a drink in the studio, please. I'm just having a little jig in here, London, you know what I mean? Loosening up my body and thing to go for the next part.
This is the gangster speaking. Alright? Ask them what them thinking blinking, them shit sinking. This is Genesis, you know. Sin, we run things, rule things, run left things and out things around me don't can't get you up. Fresh!
Okay, I just had a sister phone and said, boy, Commissioner. She said, Commissioner, I'm on HRT at the moment, you know, what are you saying? To know these things, and from we know it, we can deal with it. See? So let's go. Where were we? Estrogen is now being touted by mainstream medicine as a great preventative of cardiovascular disease. It is a major reason why an otherwise healthy menopausal woman is prescribed HRT. To understand the issues at hand, it is first necessary to have a better understanding about cardiovascular disease. Cardiovascular disease includes both heart disease and stroke. Stroke, like heart disease, is a vascular disease, a disease of the blood vessels. In both cases, the blood vessels become narrow, either through spasm or through oh boy, you all gotta help me, you know, I'm not a doctor. Say some of these words, my gosh. Okay, through spasm or through atherosclerosis. Atherosclerosis. The narrowing of the arteries that feed the heart. Therefore, not enough blood gets to a critical place. In the case of heart disease, it is the heart, and with stroke, it is the brain. Cardiovascular disease also encompasses high blood pressure and coronary artery disease. So, let's continue. You'll bear with me, you know, my mouth is just absolutely parched. Hope you are enjoying this information. Let's go. The argument is made that deaths due to heart disease in women are very uncommon prior to menopause, but that after menopause, deaths increase sharply. Estrogen deficiency is blamed for this increase. It is therefore recommended that all menopausal women should now be placed on HRT as a preventative treatment, whether or not they have a history of heart disease. Menopause itself is thus perceived as a dangerous risk factor for the increasing incidence of heart disease. This neat argument has women clamoring for estrogen supplementations, but is it true? Professor Hugh Tunstall-Pidore, a renowned cardiovascular epidemiologist at the University of Dundee, Scotland, says emphatically, absolutely not. According to him, it is a myth that the menopause is bad for women's hearts. It is unarguable that risk of myocardial infarction, heart attacks, and coronary death is lower in women than in men in the Middle Ages. However, there is a myth that risk in women is held low only until the menopause around age 50 years, when it rebounds, equaling and later surpassing that in men. In an article published in The Lancet, Professor Tunstall-Pidore writes that the increased risk of coronary heart disease, CHD, in women with premature or artificial menopause, lipid changes at menopause, and observational studies suggesting a protective effect of HRT, all contributing to the myth. The myth implies that coronary deaths in women should accelerate more rapidly after the age of 50, and the rise should be specific to heart disease. However, Professor Tunstall analyzes comparing the rate of CHD deaths per million women with the rate for men, shows women's death rates do not surge after menopause and, in fact, never catch up to those of men. There is no rebound acceleration in risk in women at or after the age of 50 years, he says. Professor Tunstall's research reveals that the reason that numbers of elderly women dying from CHD are greater than the numbers of elderly men dying from the disease is simply that many more women than men live to be elderly. Professor Valerie Burrell, a leading epidemiologist and head of the Imperial Cancer Research Fund at Oxford University, concurs that there is no evidence for a change in CHD pattern around menopause, but the idea is nonetheless widespread. It's sort of grown up as a myth, along with the idea that therefore giving HRT will protect you. The idea that it's HRT going to protect women in the long term from coronary disease, which is the main reason it is often given. There is really no basis for that. Dr. Susan Love, breast surgeon and adjunct associate professor of clinical surgery at UCLA, director of the Santa Barbara Breast Cancer Institute, and a leading author, agrees heart disease is not a symptom of menopause. Heart disease is heart disease. It is more common in women than in premenopausal women, but that's because postmenopausal women are older than premenopausal women. It's like grey. You're more likely to have grey hair after menopause than before it, but menopause doesn't cause grey hair. Rather, they both tend to happen in later life. The standard line has always been that women are protected from heart disease as long as their bodies make estrogen, and then after menopause they lose that protection and rates of heart disease for men and women become equal. But in fact, the rates never become equal.
Nice, man. Cheaper than the weed. Do you know someone who's taking drugs? Are you taking drugs? We just take it for relax, me. I know big thing. Call the National Drugs Helpline now, in confidence. Just leave. Free phone 0800 77 6600. This is Genesis Radio, working with the community.
In this country, women in their 60s and 70s have 45% less heart disease than men in the same age bracket. Women develop heart disease much later than men, 7 or 8 years later. Women's risk rises continuously as they get older, but there's no sudden increase with menopause. We never catch up. We never catch up. Estrogen deficiency and heart disease. The corollary to the menopause heart disease myth is that there is a reduction of estrogen at menopause. In fact, it is often erroneously stated that the ovaries fail at menopause, resulting in an estrogen deficiency. The estrogen deficiency is then attributed to a higher incidence of heart disease in a postmenopausal woman. While women have been led to believe that this lack of estrogen during the menopausal years is the cause of a variety of symptoms and potentially debilitating conditions, there is a growing body of evidence that disputes this belief. Dr. Geraldine Pryor, a physician and professor of endocrinology at the University of Vancouver in British Columbia, points out that to date there exists no study proving the relationship between estrogen deficiency and menopausal symptoms and related diseases. Instead, says Dr. Pryor, a notion has been put forward that since estrogen levels go down, this is the most important change and explains all the things that may or may not be related to menopause. So estrogen treatment at this stage of our understanding is premature. This is a kind of backwards science. It leads to ridiculous ideas like calling a headache an aspirin deficiency disease. According to Dr. Susan Love, making eggs isn't the ovary's only function, any more than reproduction is a woman's whole function. The ovary is more than just an egg sac. It's an endocrine organ that produces hormones, and it produces hormones before, during, and after menopause. With menopause, the ovary goes through a shift from a folic-rich producer of estrogen and progesterone into a stroma-rich producer of estrogen and androgen. Stroma is the glue that holds all the eggs together. In the postmenopausal women, the ovary responds with increased production of testosterone, as well as continued lower levels of estrone, and estradiol. I might be pronouncing that wrong. And the estrogen precursor, androstenedione. Woo! So, for that reason, the doctor says, contrary to belief, the ovaries do not shrivel up or cease functioning at menopause. You all listen. There's a sister outside Brixton Tube Station that says that she's waiting for someone from Genesis to come and pick her up. So if any of you all out there know anything about it, she's phoned me twice. Okay, where were we? So, contrary to popular belief, the ovaries do not shrivel up or cease functioning at menopause. Ovaries continue to produce hormones, including estrogens, throughout the life cycle, though the amounts they produce change depending on a woman's age. It is an erroneous, I can't, there's them words, them big dotted words. It was an erroneous, that's it, belief that the ovaries cease producing estrogen at menopause. Since the menopausal woman is no longer in her reproductive cycle, it is not necessary for the body to produce the high level of estrogen required to mature an egg. Therefore, as women age, the ovaries grow smaller as nature intended. However, the part of the ovary that shrinks is known as the theca, the outermost covering where the eggs grow and develop. The innermost part of the ovary, known as the inner stroma, actually becomes active for the first time in a woman's life. With exquisite timing, one function starts up as the other winds down. Dr. John Lee, physician, author and critic of hormone replacement therapy, explains estrogen levels decline at menopause but not to zero. Estradiol falls generally to about 15% of premenopausal levels, and estrone falls only to 40 or 50% of premenopausal levels. Oh, let's go, big word. Androstenedione, a hormone made in the ovary long after menopause, is converted in body fat into estrone, which is partially converted in the gut and liver into estradiol. Did Mother Nature intend that women should become estrogen deficient after menopause? I think not. Estrogen deficiency at menopause is a myth created by drug companies to justify selling supplemental estrogen. Nature designed the postmenopausal woman to produce adequate levels of estrogen for that stage of life. Thus, lower levels of estrogen at menopause are a natural adjustment to that stage of life. It does not mean a pathology of estrogen deficiency. It is interesting to note that the Consumer Guide to Prescription Drugs warns that women should not take estrogen or progestins if they have current or past clotting disorders, thrombosis, stroke history, cerebrovascular or cardiovascular disorders, high lipoproteins, a specific type of blood fats, severe uncontrolled hypertension, or lipid metabolism disorders. The packet insert of the combined estrogen and progestin pills, Prempro, warns taking estrogen may increase the risk of blood clots. Did you all hear that? Taking estrogen may increase the risk of blood clots. These clots can cause a stroke, heart attack, or pulmonary embolism, any of which may cause death or serious long-term disability. And these drugs are being prescribed to prevent heart disease. One does not need to have a medical degree to realize that something is seriously wrong with a theory that endorses HRT as a treatment for heart disease. As I said, my sisters, we're not here to frighten, you know. I'm not trying to scaremonger you. I'm just going to share some facts with you. We haven't finished yet, you know. HRT, hormone replacement treatment. The theory of hormone replacement therapy as a protection against heart disease emerged in 1991 with findings from a large prospective study, the Nurses' Health Study, conducted by a team from Harvard. This study was highly influential in establishing a positive estrogen cardiovascular link. Its data came from questionnaires mailed every 2 years from 1976 to 1986 to 48,470 female nurses. The results from the study showed that women who had taken estrogen postmenopausally experienced only half the risk of coronary heart disease than those who hadn't. Unfortunately, this study was later found to be seriously flawed and the statistics manipulated. Since the study was observational, it was undetermined whether it was estrogen that actually lowered the risk or whether women with generally good health were more likely to be on estrogen in the first place. As it turned out, the women who took estrogen were of a higher socio-economic status, better educated, thinner, and more likely to be non-smokers. These women also tended to have more regular consultations with their doctors and therefore were considered more likely to have continuing preventative care. On the other hand, the nurses in this study who were not using hormones were more likely to be diabetic, to be cigarette smokers, to have more body fat, and to do less exercise. All of these are risk factors for heart disease. Enough respect, my brother. Yes, yes, yes. This information is readily available. My sister that phoned in, as I said to you, that number I gave you, if you phone that number, when the show is finished, we'll get the information to you. Okay? Now, as I said to you, in 1991, they started using hormone replacement therapy as a treatment for cardiovascular disease. Okay? After they done this study. Now, the researchers also seem to overlook or ignore a rather startling finding. The estrogen users had a 50% higher incidence of stroke death. The researchers, listen to this, seem to overlook or ignore a rather startling finding. The estrogen users had a 50% higher incidence of stroke death. Again, the pharmaceutical companies admitted in the PremPro packet insert that some research has shown that estrogens without progestins may protect women against developing heart disease. However, this is not certain. The protection shown may have been caused by the characteristics of the estrogen-treated women and not by the estrogen treatment itself. In general, women treated were slimmer, more physically active, and were less likely to have diabetes than untreated women. Despite the faulty nature of the Nurse Health study, it has become the cornerstone of a well-orchestrated marketing campaign to convince healthy women that HRT could prevent heart disease. As is the custom of mainstream medicine, doctors have been bombarded with advertisements for the claimed benefits of estrogen, with the stroke risk completely ignored. Thus, based on an unsubstantiated theory and poorly designed studies, there is a huge push by most mainstream doctors to have all their menopausal and postmenopausal patients take HRT. I think that's sickening. You see, my brothers, in the past, they used to treat women's health as, oh, that's women's health, nothing to do with us. You think this doesn't affect us? Look at what they're doing to our women. Look how they're pumping them full of drugs and lying to them and telling them that, boy, yep, this is going to help you, What about the effects? Did you all hear? The researchers seem to overlook or ignore a rather startling finding. The estrogen users had a 50% higher incidence of stroke death. The Framingham Heart Study, the only ongoing long-term epidemiological study in the United States, conducted on 240,000 women, reported that the postmenopausal estrogen users had no benefit in terms of heart disease, but a 50% increased incidence of strokes. Estrogen users had a higher risk of vascular disease, which was independent of any other known risk. However, such serious questions about estrogens efficiency and safety were totally ignored, as the pharmaceutical companies, realizing the potential of another huge market, were extremely eager to add another string to the HRT bow. Test the estrogen cardiovascular relationship further, in 1995, Professor Elizabeth Barrett Connor from the University of California conducted studies to see if levels of hormones in the blood affected heart disease. She measured testosterone, oestrogen, and androstenedione Oh, excuse my language. She found no relationship between the blood levels of these sex hormones and heart disease in postmenopausal women, nor did she find any relationship between blood levels of estrogen and cholesterol levels, LDL, and triglycerides. Other studies have confirmed this finding. Although obesity increases the blood levels of estrogen, it certainly doesn't decrease heart disease. On the contrary, obesity is one of the greatest contributors to heart disease. So, once again, serious doubt has been cast on estrogen's cardiovascular benefits. In the pursuit of establishing a definite beneficial link between HRT and the heart, YF Ios, the pharmaceutical company manufacturing Premarin, funded the US 40 million study called the Heart and Estrogen Progestin Studies, or HERS, which was to investigate Premarin's effect for women with pre-existing coronary artery disease. It was the first randomized controlled trial and considered large enough to examine the effects of HRT on cardiovascular outcomes. The study enrolled 2,763 postmenopausal women, average age 67, with a previous history of a heart attack. Heart surgery, including bypass, angioplasty or narrowing of the arteries. Half of the group took 0.635 milligrams of Premarin and 2.5 milligrams of Provera daily. The other half took a placebo. They were followed for a 5-year period. The findings from this study, which were released in August 98, sent shockwaves throughout the medical community world. For the women taking hormones, the risk of myocardial infarction increased by about 50% the first year and then decreased by the 4th and 5th years, leaving no overall benefit. In addition, there was a 3-fold increase in venous thromboembolic events, blood clots in the legs and lungs, and a significant increase in gallbladder disease in the user group. Other surprising findings revealed that although the good cholesterol increased by 10% and the bad cholesterol decreased by 10%, this change had virtually no protective effect. It brought to light that the great emphasis placed on cholesterol levels in preventing heart attacks may indeed be a red herring. More and more studies are emerging that support this belief. Professor Barrett Connor commented on a study, "I wouldn't be putting women with heart disease on HRT to prevent a heart attack, because there is an increased risk in people with heart disease." This excess of heart disease was really surprising. The results of this study stopped the use of HRT for secondary prevention of heart disease dead in its tracks. This is last year, you know. But what about its effectiveness for primary prevention? Does it really have any protective benefits against cardiovascular disease while all the focus has been on estrogen? What about the effect when it is combined with a progestin? Estrogen is not usually prescribed alone to a woman with an intact uterus because of its known carcinogenic effect on the uterus. I got to take a breather, you know. My lips are dry, my throat is like a desert, and I haven't got nothing. Let's go. Dancing time. How you feeling, London? Sorry about the phone lines. And my sisters out there listening to this, I hope you all are not getting depressed. As I said to you all, you should have listened to the show yesterday, you know. There was a man on there that just let off some information. Anyway, this is the People's Talk Show with a difference today yet again. We find that we have to be giving you all information rather than opening the phone lines and letting you all talk. But you have my personal word that the next Sunday this happens, the next Sunday in a row that the phone line is not up, we're going to string up the innkeeper. See? Enough respect going out to the innkeeper. How you keeping? All right. See, London, the Genesis family is still here, still doing that thing. Now, before I go back into this, because the next one we're going to deal with, you know, is the progestins. Progestins. they're a guilty party as well. Give me 5 seconds to have a breather, and then we'll be back. Okay, caller, we lost you. If you'd like to try again, but you'd have to leave it. Oh, all right, I'll take you now before I get back into this. Claims that our estrogen therapy can prevent heart disease are problematic. Moreover, women's natural estrogen levels seem to have little or no effect on their rate of heart disease. Dr. Susan Love states, in osteoporosis, breast cancer, and endometrial cancer, factors associated with the body's own estrogens correlate with the risk of the disease. For example, the larger your lifetime supply of estrogen, whether because you started menstruating early, took certain medications, or never became pregnant, the greater your risk of breast cancer and the lower your risk of osteoporosis. But there is no clear relationship between heart disease and your body's own estrogen. The amount of estrogen your body makes over your lifetime doesn't appear to have any effect on your risk of heart disease. However, it does seem that supplemental estrogen has a beneficial effect on cholesterol by increasing the good HDL, high-density lipoproteins, and decreasing the bad LDL, low-density lipoproteins. It is believed that this can have a marked effect on subsequent heart disease, but there is more to heart disease than just cholesterol control. Dr. John Lee comments, yes, estrogen does lower total cholesterol and raise the good HDL, but at what cost? This is only one risk factor for heart disease, and a questionable one at that. Given the risk and side effects of estrogen, wouldn't it be more sensible to improve cholesterol levels through well-proven and safer routes, through a good diet, exercise, and antioxidant supplements? Since it is well researched that unopposed estrogen given to women with an intact uterus will put her at high risk of endometrial cancer, hormone treatments now include a synthetic progestin such as Provera, as well as estrogen. What are the effects on the heart by including a progestin? The first randomized control study to investigate estrogen, progestin, and progesterone therapy and its effects on lipids in women was the 3-year PEPI, postmenopausal estrogen progestin interventions trial, the results of which were published in 1995. It included 875 healthy, naturally or surgically postmenopausal women aged 45 to 64 years old who were randomly asked to take one of 4 hormone replacement programs for 3 years. They included a placebo group, an unopposed estrogen Premarin group, a Premarin and a synthetic progestin Provara group, and a Premarin and a natural oral micronized progesterone group. A progestin is a drug that has some similar characteristics as the natural progesterone the body makes, but it is not the exact molecular match, thus causing many side effects. Oral micronized natural progesterone is formulated in a laboratory to be the exact molecular match as the progesterone made by the body. Since the study was only conducted over 3 years, the researchers couldn't study the effects of estrogen progesterone on heart attacks, so they focused on changes in HDL levels. The study found that the most positive results, the highest levels of HDL, occurred in the estrogen-only group, with a 0.14 increase in HDL. The group that most closely followed was the estrogen plus natural progesterone group, with a 0.11 increase in HDL. It was found that adding Provara to Premarin counteracted the beneficial effects of Premarin on cholesterol, a 0.03 increase in HDL. So in layman's terms, they are actually giving you women estrogen and then giving you a progestin with it, which actually counteracts what the estrogen or the estrogen is supposed to do. This study clearly showed that natural progesterone was much more effective in maintaining HDL levels than the synthetic progestins, which actually lowered the HDL quite significantly. It is interesting to note that the researchers buried their recommendation for natural progesterone in the very last sentence of their paper. Listen, please. This is still outside Brixton, outside the body shop waiting. Now, the brothers from the Nation of Islam, Brother Aika Muhammad and the Special Envoy, Brother Anthony Muhammad. This sister says that she was talking to you all this morning, and she's supposed to link up with you, and she's been outside body shop in Brixton from since when? She says she's freezing. See? Now, you all need to get in touch with her. I have actually sent her down to Red's Records to see if she can get any information from you, see? But you will need to get in touch with her. She's been waiting a long time. Whilst I'm waiting for the kettle to boil, I think I shall proceed. Okay, people have asked me where I got my information. In an interview published on the internet by the American Medical Association, okay, Dr. Elizabeth Barrett Corner remarked, "If I were treating a woman primarily because she was worried about heart disease or because she had abnormal blood fats and low HDL cholesterol, I would probably see if she wanted to take micronized natural progesterone. I was quite impressed with the better effect. Unfortunately, the major finding that natural progesterone played a most beneficial role on HDL levels never made it off the pages of the Journal of the American Medical Association. Instead, the first line of the editorial accompanying the paper study read, 'Estrogen is good for the heart.' Once again, the safer and more natural option was totally ignored." My sisters, please. Now, true, we're talking about the natural process, you know. It is important to note that the beneficial effects of natural progesterone in a PEP study occurred when it was used with an estrogen as part of a hormone replacement therapy. While natural progesterone was never tested on its own, there is a growing body of evidence that suggests it is just as effective as estrogen in increasing HDL levels, again raising grave concerns that estrogen's therapeutic effects have been overrated. In fact, it is becoming more and more obvious that the pivotal role given to estrogen supplementation itself for women's hormonal and health problems has been much overrated. The PEP study also raised new questions about the safety of Premarin. While it raised HDL levels, 5 new cases of heart disease developed during the first 3 years of the study, only in the patients taking Premarin. This suggests at least the possibility that Premarin may actually cause heart disease in some post-menopausal women. Also, 10 women receiving Premarin developed blood clots. 4 of these cases were serious. No women in a placebo group developed blood clots. More disturbing, research about progestins' harmful effects on the heart continues to surface. In 1997, Dr. Kent Hansmeyer, a professor of medicine and cell developmental biology at Oregon Health Science University, published a groundbreaking study in Nature Medicine journal, showing that the synthetic progestin Provara made the muscles of the heart and coronary arteries of rhesus monkeys more reactive and prone to vasospasms. His study set out to investigate the effect of hormones on coronary artery spasms. The ovaries from 12 rhesus monkeys were removed to stimulate menopause. Half were given estrogen and a synthetic progestin, Provara, and the other half were given estrogen and natural progesterone. 4 weeks later, the monkeys were injected with a drug to simulate coronary artery spasm. The monkeys that were on Provara and estrogen suffered from an unrelenting spasm that would have caused death if they hadn't been injected with an antispasmodic drug. The monkeys that had been treated with estradiol and natural progesterone showed very little coronary artery spasm. The study concluded that Provara, in contrast to natural progesterone, increased the risk of coronary vasospasm. Dr. Heimsmeyer later commented on the study's relevance to women. We also didn't expect to find that progesterone alone without added estrogen is protective of the coronary arteries, but it is, and I believe that progesterone can be a very important part of decreasing the incidence of sudden heart death and cardiovascular disease in menopausal women. However, we hypothesize that this protection occurs optimally when the woman's body also has sub-physiological levels of estrogen, and that the two hormones, progesterone and estrogen, work best together. Let's keep going. This research was reinforced by a study conducted at Wake Forest University's Bowman School of Medicine. Their research with heart disease and hormones in monkeys showed that Provara can obliterate the beneficial effect of estrogen therapy on the progression of coronary artery atherosclerosis, clogging of the arteries. Research has also been conducted on the effects of Provara with vasospasm in women. At London's National Heart and Lung Institute, Dr. Peter Collins led a study using different combinations of HRT. The women were monitored while exercising on a treadmill. The study found that the women who were using natural progesterone could exercise significantly longer than the women taking Provara, who became much more fatigued due to restricted blood flow. The results of these studies are convincing more and more doctors to re-evaluate their use of a progestin like Provara in a hormone replacement regime. Instead, they are now realizing that natural progesterone is a safer and more effective choice. As a result of the PEP study, the FDA has recently approved an oral form of natural progesterone tablet called Prometerim. This is the first time that a natural progesterone product has been patented. However, a transdermal cream is still a much more effective delivery system. It is recommended to use 200 milligrams of prometrium for 12 days of a woman's cycle, while only 20 milligrams is required for a natural progesterone cream.
Happen to be a public information warning going out to all the youth them and get out. You tell them say you see the coke and crack and all the drugs thing them that to stop. Original Top Cat said that. See me?
Hello and welcome to Radio Land Boxing with Genesis FM, the undisputed champ. Oh, good uppercut from Genesis. Oh my word, Power. James Power's been cut off. WNK are coming forward. And WNK are in trouble. WNK's been taken. And it's a tremendous fight with Baseline FM. Baseline FM throws the rabbit punch. Oh, straight right from Genesis, and Baseline is reduced to treble in this arena tonight. It's all over. There's a lot of punching in that corner. Paradise is putting up a fight. Paradise is in misery. Paradise has been taken. It's absolutely amazing. Genesis getting in on the inside with the fast punches, and what a left hook from Genesis, and Galaxy's in a black hole at the moment. Oh, there's a straight driving, jabbing, kisses mouth and kisses out. Absolutely great body shots from Genesis. Oh my word, choice is no choice. The corner's thrown in the towel. What a disaster. Punishing headshots from Genesis. Oh no, Skyline needs a helpline. What a beating. Oh, the